I don't know how these guys do it, but welcome to RotorLive, the biggest heli fair. This is for a helicopter. That's for this helicopter. Which, okay, there are a lot of massive helicopters here, mostly run by turbines or absolutely crazy massive battery packs. This one though, this one's going to run on 8S, and it's going to run a 150 amp speed controller. The 3D guys with the 700 size helis are using bigger speed controllers than this one. Why? Well, the whole thing weighs nothing. The idea is it's a couple of weeks short from being finished. Unfortunately, they couldn't get it ready in time for the show, but apparently it's going to be ready to fly at around about 12 kilos. It's fully self-made. Many of the parts are 3D printed. All the blades are homemade. We have the massive center pin there. The tail unit is a T-motor. Apparently one of the biggest issues was actually finding a big enough speed controller with reverse action, so it's going to spin one way or the other, just like the really small helicopters do, the M1 and so on, but on a much bigger scale. The speed of the rotor, well, they're guessing that it's going to be somewhere around, it's going to run from about 900 up to, I think he said, about 1500 RPM, and they're hoping to have it flying somewhere in the middle of that range. So it's going to be super slow RPM on top. Going to be really interesting to see this one fly, and a real big shame that we couldn't see it this weekend. Here at MIKADO, the irrefutable kings of radios for helicopters, they brought out not only their new line of receiver cases, which as you can see, there's just a little bit of bling, some nice color to your heli. You can color code it to your radio or your heli, as they seem to have radios in basically all kinds of colors. And they've also brought out a new receiver, which is much bigger than the standard version. It has quite a few more channels, it has multiple telemetry sockets, and it has what looks like dual receiver with dual antennas for each. So I'm guessing this is more for the larger helicopters, maybe the turbine ones. Whether you're going to want to replace your POWERBOX with this, as it still only has one power input, I don't know, but it's obviously nice for the V-bar guys to have another option. The most awaited moment of RotorLive 2024 was Saturday at 11 o'clock when SAB Goblin revealed their two new models. This one is the ILGOBLIN. Can't get more Italian than that. It's kind of a mix where we have the front end of a Rotor and the back end of a Kraken. So aside from mixing those two models together, what have they done? Well, they've saved a load of weight. They've swapped out a load of parts from steel to titanium. That's right, they've done an Apple. They've made many parts out of titanium to save weight. We then have a load of nice little features. We have new quick releases for the battery, which we can now install either from the front or through the back. And if we install it through the back, we can actually install our wiring at the front with a couple of bananas, which allow us to just push the battery through and it connects in place. No connecting any wires, which seems like a really great idea. We then have a tensioner here for the belt, so no more fighting, stretching the tail back while trying to put the nuts and bolts through to keep it in place. Make it more or less tight and then just adjust it a little bit there, which is really cool. Now, here we have what they've done with the main unit. So this is from the standard Rotor. And as you can see, the new ILGOBLIN is massive. I mean, talk about beefy. They've been able to reduce the weight using titanium, and then they've been able to beef everything up elsewhere using that same weight. After all, it seems that a 3D helicopter does have a kind of sweet spot where if you have too much weight, it doesn't fly good, and if it's too light, it doesn't do the same thing as either. So we need to keep the weight, but we can center it on the parts that we want now. Just look at that shaft though, it's crazy. And then over here, their second new model, which of course is for competing with, this is the Genesis Competition. Again, they're actually going with the same kind of color design as the Roar, but of course, being for competition, it needs to be closed in. So it's just painted to look like their logo, to look like the Roar, and overall, it's an absolute stunner. At the Cha Servo stand, we have something that we do recognize, but we haven't seen yet. And that is the brand new POWERBOX Competition SHV, the super high voltage, which in some degree has been produced or developed in conjunction with these guys. Why? Well, it's the first POWERBOX that has output to servos beyond that of a 2S battery. And we're not talking 3S or 4S. This thing can go all the way up to 6 and 7S. Why though? The super high voltage allows smaller wires, or more to the point, using the same wires in even bigger models, because you don't have the voltage drop. At the same time, the consumption from the servos drops massively. So what is normally a 12 amp servo can offer the same or more torque for half of that power consumption, which also means less heat, less power through the wires, and really it's all benefits. Now, this particular POWERBOX as well, for the first time, comes with XT60 connectors rather than the multiplex ones that we're all used to, and the servo wires are actually no longer using the Futaro JR connectors. They're now using Molex connectors, which click into place, which guarantees that they can't come out. All of this is not only for modeling, but it also allows that extra level of safety and security that's often required in UAV applications. It even has the option to have two different receiving types, one via flight controller and one via radio, which allows you to take over manual control from an autopilot in UAV applications. That of course causes a problem though, because what servos are there for such a super high voltage system? Our high voltage servos run up to 8.4 volts. Well, at the moment, Cha servos, obviously they had a bit of a head start because they developed the POWERBOX and the servos together with POWERBOX. But they already have a couple of servos out, which, like this one for example, can run 90 kilos worth of holding torque, or a little bit over 80 kilos of stalling torque. So it can actually move over 80 kilos and then hold 90, which is absolutely insane. But then you look at the specs of the power consumption, and it does all of that without reaching or without even maxing out 6 amps. Now, any other servo with even half that power, you're normally looking at 10 or 12 amps. So definitely looks like a good option for the future. We've snuck in behind the scenes, and this is the brand new model from OMP Hobbies. Now, we've already seen, even on this particular channel, my reviews of the M1 Evo and the M2 Evo. We've got the M4, which was already released previously, and released here at the fair is the brand new M7, which looks absolutely spectacular. What's new, what makes it different though? Again, we've got the 15mm center shaft, but what really draws your attention are the side panels. Rather than being a flat panel of carbon, they're actually molded. That allows it to be much thinner while actually being stronger than the flat panel. That means that it's lighter and stronger, which means that they can then put all that extra or that saved weight into other areas, which is why we've got such beefy main shaft, blades, holders, disc, and so on. Another really cool feature of this heli is that we've got these little screws here which allow us to actually put oil into the bearings, which means that we don't need to disassemble the whole part when we're doing our maintenance. Another cool feature is that inside the box when you buy this heli, which we'd show you but they're already all gone, is that it comes with two tail booms. One which is the standard carbon fiber black, as you can see here, and the other version is aluminium painted to match the canopy. So there are 4 colors available. All of them come with 2 booms. All of them have the same black boom, the carbon version, where you can see the weave, and the others each have a different color based on the canopy. Really neat idea, and it also gives you kind of one free crash. Nice ideas here from OMP. Over here at KONTRONIK, probably the most prestigious of motor and speed controller companies here at RotorLive, they have 2 new products, 2 new speed controllers, a 140 and a 160. Now the first thing that we see, aside from them both being the same size, is that they're comparatively small compared to what we're used to for that size of speed controller. Now, the 160 can go up to 8S, while the 140 can go all the way up to 12S. Both of them can power the servos from between 5 and 12 volts. So even if you're using super high voltage servos, they're still going to be able to power them, and they have up to 30 amp BECs inside. So plenty of power to power all of those servos. Here at SOXOS, or Heli Professional, last year they had the new 7.1 light helicopter. This year they've brought out an entirely new heli, this time a 600 size, the Strike 6.1. Now, to keep it light, they've changed a lot of the parts that are normally made out of steel to aluminium, which, after having seen the demos, you can really tell that it seems to fly light for a 600 size heli. Helped as well by the fact that it can run either on 6S or 12S. So depending on your flight style, you can either keep it really light, or you can go for the extreme power from a 12S pack. But that's not the big news here at the fair. The big news comes from their new blades, which have this rather unusual hook shape, which is designed to help both the efficiency and also a reduction in noise from the blade tip. Now, it's available in 2 versions at the moment. We have the 700A or the 700P. The P is more designed around precision, so it locks the heli in a little bit more, while the A is the agile version. Now, it's not saying it's not precise, but it's quicker. It's probably lighter at the wingtip, and it just helps with that extra agility for those really crazy 3D maneuvers that we've been seeing out there all day. Without a doubt, the most labor-intensive model here at RotorLive is this Kemax 1200. It's fully made out of aluminium, and it seems to have probably, I don't know even how many of these little rivets, millions. Obviously, it's a twin rotor. This one is powered by a turbine, a Jakadowski turbine, but here we can see the system that's inside and how it works, this time with an electric motor. Both of them run together, so there's no way that the blades can ever clash, which of course would be disastrous if that ever happened. Each one has their own 3 servos using a standard swash plate. All are standard, but all the magic happens in here, where the gearing matches both blades together at the same time. A labour of love. One of the biggest stands here is Goosky, or Goosky, something like that. They seem to be everywhere at the moment. They've only just started. We already knew their S1 helicopter, which is the small one, got the S2 and the S4, but here for the first time we're getting to see the S7, which all the guys have just come back from the Dubai Masters, where they had the sort of the big launch, and they did really well. Of course, they have team pilot Duncan Bossion on board, who's absolutely smashing this thing and putting on some amazing demos. So what makes it special? Well, one of the most characteristic things of it is the battery entrance, which you don't need to remove the canopy to be able to access or install the battery. That just slides in and out very easily. Once again, we're seeing the 15mm shaft in the center, which seems to be the way that all helicopters are going at the moment. It's available either with or without blades, but interestingly, the kit that comes with blade actually comes with the top of the line Azure blades, which pilots are absolutely loving. Now, it does look a little bit different. We've got the really big fat tail tube, but as we say, in flight it seems really good. So, another option for big heli guys. And that's it for RotorLive 2024. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave us a like, subscribe if you aren't already, and we'll see you all somewhere else.